Hello, my name is Dr. Appel from Ado Psychology Center, where we specialize in treating anxiety, depression, and OCD. Welcome to our video seminar series. Hope you enjoy this video. So this presentation is going to be on managing anxiety during a crisis. So the goals for this video are to, number one, understand trauma and anxiety during a crisis, what you can expect to experience and why. And number two, and more importantly, learn what to do about it. So what are the skills we can use during this time to feel less anxious and productive and keeping your life on track? So let's begin by defining trauma, anxiety, stress. In short, when there's a shocking event where your sense of safety is shattered, you're experiencing a traumatic event. So trauma usually involves a shocking situation that your sense of safety is shattered, and it's usually accompanied with feelings of uncertainty, feeling that you're out of control, feeling that life is unjust or unfair or pointless. And during a traumatic experience, you're likely to, going to feel a lot of anxiety and stress about it as well. So on the next few slides, we'll talk about what can you do about it so that you start feeling a little bit more in control of your life, less anxious, and create some sense of normalcy so that you can keep functioning the way you were before the crisis, even though it's a very challenging time. Or how do you manage anxiety during a crisis? Well, there are many things to keep in mind, and so I'm going to briefly discuss them on this slide and then get into more detail on the following slides. First of all responses are valid. Understand the function of emotions. Keep in mind physiological relaxation, including the TIP skill from DBT, deep breathing, PMR, which is progressive muscle relaxation. Take care of your physical needs. Again, the please skill from DBT. Maintaining routine, differentiating between what's in your control versus what's not in your control, identifying and labeling and validating our emotions, create meaning, lean into resources, including religion or social connection, find your mission or what you can do to participate in helping and reconnect with your values. Stimulus control, so controlling your environment, maybe watching less news videos. Have a safe space to express your thoughts or fears, not obsessively, but it should be a place where you can do it without judgment and preferably even be validated. Find some positive things to think about, things you're grateful for. Think about the past, present, and future instead of just the present. And be intentional with when you want to set aside time to deal with the crisis instead of dealing with it all day. So now let's get into each of these more individually, and we'll understand a little bit more about each one of these things to keep in mind. First, all responses are valid. So whether you're feeling anger or hopelessness or guilt or shame or rage, whatever response you're immediately having, it's valid. Because given who you are and your situation and your understanding of the facts, your body's going to react a certain way, and you want to allow space for that reaction to come through without immediately shutting it down or overanalyzing it or forcing yourself to think differently. So step one is to recognize that all your responses are valid, and hopefully that will relieve some of the pressure of why am I feeling this way? And I have to stop feeling this way. I have to change this. No, step one is to recognize that whatever you're feeling is okay and let that sit there for a little bit before you start moving on to other skills. Next, we want to understand the function of emotions. Understanding the function of emotions can help put things in perspective. So what is the function of emotions? Well, emotions are there to help us deal with reality and go through life. So, for example, if you're feeling anxious about a test that you're having the next day, the purpose is to motivate you to study. And if you're feeling, sad or depressed, it may be a way for other people to notice how you're feeling and help solve, or even for yourself to recognize like something's wrong and help solve the issues, like an indicator. So, another example is a fight or flight response, right? If a bus is coming at you, and you're about to get hit by a bus and you start freaking out and your adrenaline is pumping and your heart is racing and you run out of the way, it's there to protect you. So the function of emotions are really there to help us, not hurt us. And when you recognize that and you're noticing your body is experiencing emotions in a strong way, especially if you're feeling it, physiologically, like in your body, just recognizing that it's not a bad thing. It's not something to be scared of, but rather it means your body is functioning the way it should be functioning and they're there to protect you. And keeping that in mind can already reduce the intensity or the added, fear or other added emotions that you're having about your emotions. Physiological relaxation. So this refers to once we recognize the function of our emotions and we're not scared of them, but we're still very amped up. We feel a lot of tension in our muscles, our heart's racing, and we want to like physiologically calm down. So there are a few things you can do to try to help your body calm down. But before you try them, first accept the fact that your body's reacting in a normal way and that you don't need to stop these feelings immediately. Like reduce the pressure to need to stop them. Because if you feel like you need to stop feeling a certain way or to start feeling a different way, it's going to be harder for your body to follow. So step one is to really be okay with however you feel. But there are some things you can try to perhaps feel a little bit less, amped up. So the tip skill from DBT refers to T refers to temperature. So you can either put cold water on your face, put ice cubes under your eyes. You can initiate the dive response, which physiologically calms your body down by tilting your head down into a bucket or a sink full of cold water. I is for intense exercise, so you can engage in jumping jacks or go running. You can do paced breathing. We'll talk about deep breathing soon. Really, any physiological, exercise to help your body kind of calm down. When it comes to deep breathing, I find usually that there are two camps. Some people, love it, and some people hate it and say, "I tried it, it doesn't help." And I think that those who really have a hard time with seeing the benefits of deep breathing might be because they are doing it a certain way instead of a different way. Let me explain. If when you're doing deep breathing, you're almost like hyperventilating or doing something like this, that's not good. Because the whole point of deep breathing is to slow down the out breath, slow down as you exhale. So when I demonstrate it to people, I tell them, take an in breath, like you could slow down the in breath too if you like, maybe 4 to 6 seconds. Then the out breath should be like 10 to 12 seconds. And believe it or not, you probably could do it. You just need to get used to it. So I'm going to demonstrate 1 or 2 times now just so you see what it looks like. But deep breathing and slow breathing means really, really slow out breaths. So it'd be something like this. So I take an in breath in now. I hold it for like a second or two, and now here goes my out breath. And I just finished my out breath. And you could perhaps even do it slower than that. Maybe for some of you with a smaller lung capacity, maybe it's not 10 seconds, it's 8 seconds. But really challenge yourself to slow it down as much as you can. And as you are doing this deep breathing, it can also be helpful to keep in mind um, either a relaxing scene or a relaxing vacation that you went on, something relaxing, or just the ocean or water, or something that you find very relaxing, or even just the word relax. As you're taking that out breath, you could try to pair it with the word relax or with a calming scene. And then PMR stands for progressive muscle relaxation, which refers to um, tightening and then loosening different muscle groups at a time. So you might start with your fists, for example. So you squeeze your fist, you like hold it for maybe 5 to 10 seconds. And then after you're done squeezing your fist, you like let it loose. And as you're letting it loose, you can imagine all that tension exiting from that part of the body. And you can pick this up on YouTube or other places where you can have like a guided like someone walking you through the different muscle groups and telling you to tense them up and loosen them. But that's what PMR is all about, progressive muscle relaxation. So here are a bunch of skills to physiologically calm your body's physiological response down. Take care of your physical needs. During a crisis, many times we are, neglecting our physical needs. We're not sleeping well, we're not eating well, perhaps we're not exercising, we may be isolating ourselves. You really want to recognize that during a crisis is when you need to take care of your physical needs the most. So even if you're very involved in helping situations, as much as you can to take care of your physical needs, that will give you more energy and make you more fit for dealing with the crisis at hand. The police go from DBT gets at these different domains, such as taking care of any physical illness that you're experiencing, eating well, sleeping well, exercising, staying away from mood altering drugs or alcohol. And I think social connection is really important in terms of our needs. So really taking care of your body is super important and can easily be neglected. So almost coming up with some kind of structure, it could be like alarms or reminders, but really taking care of your physical needs is very important. Even if you feel like, well, I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat, how could I eat when this is going on? How could I sleep? All of these may be good points, but at the end of the day, your body really does need to get its physical needs met, and you're going to be more equipped to deal with the situation and more able to help others and yourself if your body gets what it needs. The next thing to keep in mind is the importance of maintaining routine. I cannot overstate how important this is. Your routine is your anchor. So whether you're in school or you go to work or whatever it might be, you want to keep your schedule, your routine as stable as possible. Sometimes people think I need to take, a day off, a mental health day off, a week off, and every once in a while, perhaps that's a good idea. But in general, when you're going through a crisis, you want to keep things as stable as they are. And then, in addition to your routine, you can also spend some time and energy on dealing with the crisis or using the other skills that I'm speaking about in this presentation. But maintaining a routine is one of the most important things to keep in mind. So as much as possible, maintain your routines. Even if you need to have some variation, even if you have to start the day a little bit later or end a little bit earlier, that's perhaps okay. But as much as you can, maintain your routine as much as possible. Because the first step in losing the ability to deal with the crisis and feeling like you're going down a deep hole is when you stop your routine. So definitely keep in mind, keeping your routine is very, very important. Another very important thing to keep in mind is differentiating between what's in your control versus what's not in your control. Any time or energy spent on things that are not in your control is really time and energy spent. It's really not spent. It's wasting those resources on things that you can't control anyway. So you really want to be laser focused on what is not in my control, right? And whatever is not in my control, you can still have, obviously, you can express your emotions about it, you can be validated, but at some point you want to then shift your focus to what is in my control. And whatever is not in my control is beyond my ability to deal with. But there are still many things that are within your control. And when you focus on what's in your control, you regain some sense of stability and power back in your hands that otherwise you can feel completely hopeless and lost. So definitely figuring out what is in my control and what are some things that I could do to either help the larger crisis or just help my own mental health. That's where you want your focus to be. And things that are out of your control, you want to try to not ruminate about, not keep thinking about, and instead reshift your focus on, well, what can I do? And that's where you want to be. It's also important to be able to identify, label, and validate your emotions. So you want to, instead of saying, I'm feeling like I'm going crazy, you really want to pinpoint and say, I'm feeling lost, I'm feeling hopeless, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling fearful. Just putting a name on it already regains some sense of control over what your internal experience is like. And if you can get your emotions validated either by others or by yourself, but just like it makes sense I feel this way. Who wouldn't feel this way given the crisis that you're experiencing or that people are experiencing as a whole? And so being able to identify what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, labeling it, and hopefully validating it and understanding how it makes sense within this context can reduce the sense of losing control and feeling out of control and make things make more sense. And like I mentioned before, also understanding the function of emotions and that they're there to protect you and help you, and it's a normal response can all decatastrophize the internal experience that you're having during a crisis. Lean into resources, including religion, like I mentioned before, and social connection or other resources. So you want to not isolate, right, which is what may be the urge to do, but instead lean into your resources, your family, your friends, your religion, your connection with God, social connection. And instead of going through this alone, you want to make sure you're going through it with a community and that you're benefiting from your resources and that you're also a resource to others. So leaning into your resources is important, to keep in mind during a crisis so that you're not withdrawing and isolating, but rather you are connecting with people and you don't feel like you're going through this all alone. Find your mission or what you can do to participate in helping and reconnect with your own values. So, this refers to feeling like you are part of the helping for the crisis that you're in. So, many times it can feel as if there's nothing you can do to help the situation, it's beyond your control. But thinking about religion, for example, just like praying can already be something that you're doing to uh, connect, to help with what's happening. And also, usually there are other activities you can engage in. You can donate to the cause. You can create by preparing food packages for people in need, or other materials that people need. You can be, you could be a supportive person for someone else in your family or in your life and help them get through the struggle that they're going through. And what your values are in general, usually we have a set of values, but sometimes as we go through life, we get disconnected from them. So reconnecting with your values, seeing what you find meaningful, what you find has value, and engaging in behaviors that are in line with your values. And when you have a mission or something that you're focused on, it's a little bit of a distraction from the actual crisis. And it's also a helpful way to feel like you're doing something and you're focused on something and you have more control again in your life and with what's happening versus feeling completely out of control and helpless. So finding your mission specifically within the crisis can be very helpful. Stimulus control. This is another one that is very, very, we all fall into and we can all do better at, which is controlling your environment and removing the extra trigger. So when it comes to like people who experience anxiety long term, we try to tell them to not avoid triggers and instead even face their fears and slowly overcome them. When it comes to a crisis situation and you're being bombarded by all of these triggering, either it's news reports or images or opinions that people have, and so you want to make sure that you are taking control over what you're exposing yourself to. And it might mean watching less news videos, consuming less news in general, news articles. You can limit your consumption to one time per day for 10 minutes or 20 minutes just to get, an update that might be important for you. But watching videos all day long or talking about it nonstop can be something that, keeps the crisis very much alive in you instead of being allowing you to focus on your life beyond the crisis while still keeping tabs on the crisis. So you want to figure out how can you limit your exposure to triggers so that you can stay functional and not be completely swamped and overwhelmed by all of the news and other triggering, images or whatever else there might be about the crisis. Have a safe space to express your thoughts, fears, not obsessively, like I mentioned before. You don't want to be talking about it all day nonstop. You want to have a safe space to be able to express what you're feeling without judgment and hopefully be validated. So a close friend or a therapist or a family member, where you can just say exactly how you're feeling and what your thoughts are without needing to filter yourself, just to get it out of your system. So that could be really helpful too. So we don't want to do it obsessively, but we want to have that space to like not have it all bottled up. Find some positives or things to be grateful for. When we're in a crisis, we could very much focus on the negatives and the atrocities of what might be happening in that moment. And while there's obviously a lot of truth to that, we also don't want to forget about the positives in the world, in our personal lives, and things that we're grateful for. Because we want to have a healthy balance between recognizing the good and also the bad. And during a crisis, we can be completely consumed just with the bad. So reminding ourselves a few times a day, even about the things that we are grateful for, the things that are going well in our lives, can help us maintain some of that balance so we're not completely skewed only in one direction, only thinking about the horrible things, which just makes us feel horrible and hopeless and depressed and all that. This is an important one as well, thinking about the past, present, and future instead of just the present. In a crisis situation, you can be completely overwhelmed by what's happening right now. And if all you're thinking about is what's happening right now and what's happening right now is horrible, then how are you going to be able to function in life? And so what you want to do is you want to like take a moment and remember the past of yourself, of your people, of your family, past, present, and future, so that you see it more as a long story and this just being one chapter in the story versus this being the whole story. So taking a step back, almost a helicopter view of your life and your family's life and the world population in general, and just seeing how this is one chapter within there versus this being the whole story can also add some perspective and be very helpful. Being intentional with when you want to set aside time to deal with the crisis instead of dealing with it all day. So I mentioned this a little bit before with stimulus control, but the idea is you may need to spend some time thinking about the crisis and how you can help and how you can deal with it. You don't want to be thinking about it all day. And this is a skill we also discuss with folks who experience generalized anxiety disorder, where they're just very anxious about everything throughout the day. You want to set aside worry time or set aside crisis time so that anytime you have thoughts coming to your mind throughout the day, you can tell them like, okay, I'm going to put this on hold now, and at 6 p.m. today, I'm going to think about this issue or how I can solve it or what's going on in the world. So limiting this overall thinking and ruminating about what's going on to a specific part of your day versus for your whole day can also, allow you to get back to your life and not be totally consumed by what's going on. So to summarize, there are lots of skills that you can keep in mind during a crisis. Top 6 skills, I would say, are number one, recognizing all responses are valid. So that hopefully can reduce the pressure and not make you feel like you're going out of control. Number two, engage in physiological relaxation, deep breathing, the tip skill that I mentioned before with, putting cold water on your face or intense exercise or progressive muscle relaxation or anything that calms your body down, taking a nice, warm bath or shower and taking care of your physical needs, eating, sleeping, exercising, taking care of your body. Number three, maintain your routine as much as you can. Go to work, go to school, whatever you can do to maintain your routine, you want to do that. Number four, lean into resources, including religion. So praying more, connecting with God more, social connection, connecting with others. Lean into the resources around you instead of isolating and withdrawing. Number five, find your mission or what you can do to participate in helping. What is your mission during this time? Create some kind of mission for yourself and focus on that. And number six, stimulus control. So control your environment. How much are you exposing yourself to this information about the crisis, let's say, that's just making you feel worse and not really helpful? So you can limit it to a certain time of the day for a few minutes, but don't have it all day going on around you. And in general, set aside time to deal with thoughts about the crisis or how do you want to you know, respond to it, but set aside time for that instead of having it on your mind throughout the day. And once you set aside time, then whenever thoughts come up throughout the day, you can always tell yourself, okay, I'm going to be thinking about this at 6 p.m. Right now. I can refocus on what I was doing before. And last, if you find that you're still experiencing a lot of this stress and you really feel like your life's out of control, it may be a good time to meet with a therapist who can tailor treatment for your specific needs and see how your specific needs can be met during this challenging time. So for many people, using these skills or other skills, they can get through a crisis just fine. But if you feel like you're having a lot of trouble, look into seeing a therapist as well. Hope you enjoyed this video seminar. To see a full list of our current videos as well as upcoming videos that we'll be posting soon, visit us at adopsychologycenter.com and sign up to be notified when we post new videos. Bye for now.